Ladies and gentlemen, we have the 2021 CD Spark Tricks. Today we are going to be installing a tune, a Triton exhaust from WetJet, and a ribbon delete. So I've named this Tricks is Lamona, and I've affectionately named this ski Demonia. And you'll see a video on Lamona. She got a works intake grate. She also got a tune as well as a scat track 12-14 prop. So I'll probably talk a little bit about that prop compared to my experiences with a Solus and just all the scenarios with that and information that I found. But for now, it's all about Demonia. So now we're going to go ahead and get the top deck lifted off. I was going to take my shirt off, but truly it's the shirt that gives me my power. And what is this Texas jet ski rider? Shout out to Sam. I think his company, Elite Performance, out here in Houston. I'm going to use this as my strength to get this off. There's really nothing to it. It's not as heavy as people make it out to be, so we'll give it a shot here and see what we can come up with. So there we have it, top off. It probably weighs 40-30 pounds. While we're giving shouts out again, shout out to the Texas scene. Here we have the Wall of Fame. We got Works. We got my own logo here. Check it out. We got Riva. Lots of great parts. They're great for our industry and what we do. Green Hulk, Revolutionaries, man. Anything you need to know, that's where it's at. We got Influencer. Check it out. Go to the page, YouTube, Facebook. Is that Instagram? Yeah. Get you some of that. Scat Track, I'm new to them. Definitely want to have some conversations about that. I have my other stickers over there. Got some Solus and things like that. So we'll keep adding to the wall until I can cover up this hole right here. But for now, that's what we're working with. So we got all the plugs out. All of those people, everyone named WetJet, they all help the market and help us do what we do. And they're all needed. I wouldn't get into a situation where you're saying one is better than the other. Every situation is unique, and I think every player in the game is needed to help us, the riders, have as much fun as possible. Also, Mancuso, they sell a lot of product here, and WFO. That's how I ended up with Lamona here. WFO was kind enough to refer the owners of this ski to me to do the mods. So if there was ever a time where we needed to compete, a little friendly competition, no one's afraid of that. I don't mind dusting things up, but when the dust settles, I think that it should always be nothing but love for all of the people that have, a piece of skin in this game and trying to bring or enhance the fun that we have on these machines. So on this one, I've gone ahead and opened up the sinuses, if you will. So I'm going to close this back up and then get on to the next step. I'm going to remove the 3-up deck. You just you loosen the bolts at the bottom, the ones that are the star bits. Across the bottom part, there's 2 in the center and more along the other side. And then you just pull on one side, get it it fits like a glove, so you can get the finger off, I guess you could call it. And you just come to the other side, repeat the same process, and your back deck comes on off. I'll take this and give this back to the customer. I'm using this Ryobi ratchet They're not paying me to tell you that. I already had the Ryobi products. I mean, I think all of them are good from this company as well as other companies too. Obviously, if someone sponsors me, I'll use their stuff, but I prefer the Ratchet over the Impact because it's not as powerful, and so you don't have to worry about stripping out these coarse bolts because most of them don't have a nut. So too much torque, pound-feet of torque on this and they'll strip out. So this actually does a very good. So what I do here is I need to remove the nut on the exhaust, which is right here. In order to remove that, you can see I already shaved the head off of the rivet. So what I did was I took a screwdriver and a hammer and sliced the head off. So what I do from there is take a hole punch and I'll push that rivet straight out the other side, and then I'll be able to remove the nut. So for the purposes of this video, I used my 1/8 hole punch, center punch, and that just pushed the rivet straight through. Now you see my hole punch goes through. That means the rivet is no longer there. And then I'll begin to tap loose this nut.
The next part is getting the exhaust out. So I've unscrewed the various hoses of the exhaust. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the resonator. You can take it all out as one if you want. Really up to you. Next, we'll go ahead and remove the exhaust muffler. And now I have the space I need to get to working.
So this is what it looks like without the resonator and the water box inside of the ski. So I'm going to get the Triton exhaust. I'm going to test fit it and get the cuts ready to go. Get this thing knocked out pretty quick. So this is what comes in the kit. We have a few hose clamps. We have 4 anchor bolts for the exhaust tip. We have a plug. We have a 2.5 to a 3-inch reducer. The 3-inch is the exhaust. The 2-inch part of the exhaust is here on the tip with the WetJet Performance powder coated tip here, or this is actually anodized with an anodized aluminum tip. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and you guys should as well take a look at his video on the installation. He mentions where the silicone coupler goes. He also mentions how you should test fit it before you actually do your drilling and things like that. So I'll just be repeating those terms. On his particular video, he was going with a pump tunnel. This is your pump tunnel exit, and now he's going with a straight rear exit. So let's get off into that and see how we manage getting this in. Just a few parts, 1 2 3 4 5 6 parts. And then you'll see in WetJet's video they mention that you're going to want to use the screw hole against this line here to determine what's high or low. So they said this will be low, and then anything around here will be high. So that's sort of the information that they gave us when adjusting the height of your outlet here. So as I said, I was going to measure the hole to see the drawing that I made for the outlet to see how big it was. It was 2.5 inches. And so what I did was I found the center and a corrected center. I'm a little more technical than most. This center would be good enough. As long as you're in this general area, you'll be great. But again, you can measure your circumference and then the diameter. So what they did was they turned the outlet around so that the holes are oriented how it would be with the logo at the bottom and even. And they said that this hole here against this will tell you if you're high or low. So this would be high and this would be low. So I am opting for high as the customer asked for, and actually I probably don't have to move it at all. My camera moved because it's pretty good where it's at, where I marked it at. So I'm going to go ahead and drill it. So as mentioned in the instructions, you're gonna want a 2 3/4 inch core driller. That's what this is typically called. This drills a core out of whatever you're drilling through, and it has a pilot to keep you on point if precision is important. So that is what this piece is called. This is 2 3/4, also known as 2 3/4. So we're going to go ahead and put my drill on my pinpoint, and we're going to go ahead and core this out. We'll do this in real time so you can see how easy it is. I'm actually going slightly above my initial mark, but you want 3/4 is what you need. I'm going to put my drill bit on my center mark, and then I'm going to slowly go through the core. Then I'm going to, through the hole, and then I'm going to slowly let this drill work its way through the skin of this hole. Alrighty, there we go. So next I'm going to take a file, make it pretty. So I have my hole here. You can see the exhaust, so I can wiggle my exhaust a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is take my exhaust inlet, orient the logo to the bottom. Remember, we have our resonator gasket on there. Slide that in. The next thing I'm going to want to do is grab my coupler and put some soap on it to allow it to slide. These couplers in excellent conditions will grip pretty tight, and you'll be stuck. But before I do that, what I want to do is slide on my 2.5 inch band clamp or a hose clamp. So I have that. I have it oriented inside of the coupler the way that I think it should be. So I'll take it out and show you. It's about halfway in there. So right before the hose clamp opens from a 3 inch to a 2 inch. So about halfway. Get that set back in there. Now what I'm going to do, since I have that where I want it, is double check it, make sure it's even inside of there, and then I am going to tighten down this clamp because I don't want that to move anymore. So in this case I have my impact because I don't want these pieces to come loose, and because they're bolts and nuts, they can be tightened pretty well. Next, I am going to put some soap on the inside of this clamp as well. Coupler, this end of the coupler. And I don't have to wrestle with my pipe. I already have my 3 inch band clamp on here. So you're good there. And that's how that's gonna be. That is in there pretty good. Now what I want to do is refocus my attention back to the exhaust manifold, and I want to make sure that the Triton pipe is all the way against the manifold. It is. It's just one of those things where that's the way I want it. That's the way it should be. And we'll go ahead and tighten it down. That's not going anywhere. Finally, we'll readjust and we'll come over to the final clamp, which is on the coupler and the Triton exhaust tip or outlet. Get those two, make sure they're pushed in pretty good. I can tell that they are. Then I am going to go ahead and tighten that one down. Before I tighten this one down, I'm going to want to orient the WetJet logo so that it's not crooked or weird looking. I want it to look as nice as possible. For me, that is pretty straight, and that's what I'm going to go forward with when I screw it in. So with that being the case, let's go ahead and get that screwed in, screwed down. So now all of this is going to hold us in place pretty well. So what I've done here is carefully drill through the rubber, as I mentioned, and I use this one as my starter. I have this one all the way in and settled, and now I'll go in a cross pattern. I'll make sure I catch the rubber gasket on this side. I'll pull it down and situate it so that I can reach it, and make sure that my anchor bolt goes through that rubber. If not, if you have a challenge or if you feel comfortable, you can always add marine silicone. It doesn't shrink. I personally use black RTV sealant. So now you see everything is starting to come into place. I'm very happy about how this outlet is fitting against that rubber grommet. So now that I have the exhaust tip fitted, I'm going to back all of my bolts out, and I'm going to apply RTV sealant to each hole. So for me, the process is I put a little bit on the tip of the hole puncher, and then I am just going to transfer that to the tip of the screw, and then work it off of the screw from there. Get it nice and round, because I don't want all of this stuff all over my outlet, and I'm going to get it in there and twist it around. And then the rest of it that's on the tip of that, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that it's not going to get stuck on my outlet. And because I drilled slightly smaller holes than I needed, the threads on the exhaust actually help pull the tip into the ski before I even add the nuts to the back. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down for good. Go ahead, add some thread sealant to your exhaust temp sensor. But before we get off into that, we do have to install the plug that goes into the outlet of the old exhaust exit. So what I've done is placed a bead of silicone, in this case sealant gasket maker, on the plug to create a washer. I also put it on the threads to lock it in once I get it. I'm going to go ahead and get that put in there. So hopefully this segment of the video comes out okay. It's probably the easiest part. Yep, you can see my fingers. So I'm going to slide this plug in here. When doing so, you'll notice that the sealant immediately spreads out around the inside base of the plug. And then I take and screw the nut cap on, and there you have it. That thing is in. Then I'm going to take channel locks and tighten that down, and then I am going to take a small drill through the pilot hole that's already there and replace it with a screw. It's a bit of an overkill because the sealant is actually going to keep that plug in there, but you know, just for good measure. So I'm switching back to my ratchet, and I am going to only tighten them about halfway. If you try to tighten these bolts all the way or too far, you're just going to pull them right through these plastic washers, so don't do that. So I'm going to get the top deck and set it back on here. So it's time to fire it up.